Welcome to the Juniper podcast, where we chat with the most fascinating people in the pet space and dive into ways to keep our pets happy, healthy, and enriched. If you're a little obsessed with your pets like we are, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to the Juniper podcast. I'm co-host Haley here with Zoe Holloway. She's a professional dog trainer based south of Atlanta. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with me this morning.
Thank you so much.
So first, to get everyone a little bit oriented here, can you share a bit about your story to become a dog trainer?
Yeah, so I've always loved animals, and there's a lot of animals my mom would not let me have as a child. So I had to settle for a dog. So when I was 6, she got me my parents got me a wiener dog. And let me just say, wiener dogs are not made for your average 6-year-old, okay? They're small, but they are mighty. But I think my parents had a good idea that at 6, I'm not going to be the main controller of my dog. So it was a family project, but he was my responsibility. His name was Hershey. And Hershey lived for 16 and a half years. And everywhere we moved, every neighborhood we lived in, everyone knew Hershey because he either ran off, he chased them down the street, he chased their dog down the street, broke into their yard. I mean, he was bad, right? But everyone just loved Hershey. And he was the definition of a dachshund. Like, he digging and fighting. That was a scrappy dog. He would get into anything. He was so bad, but you just loved him so much. And then we moved to I moved to Arizona after I graduated college. Right after I graduated college, Hershey passed away at 16 and a half. And he was actually supposed to move with me, but again, he passed. So I went out there to live with my now wife, and she had a Maltese named Lady. And Lady was just a gem. There was nothing wrong with Lady. Lady was great. She was perfect. And then we got Queen, our Rottweiler. And when we had her home on the first day, she was just walking around real big. You know, you kind of look at your puppy and you're like, man, you're going to be huge. And I thought to myself, because I already had this theory and I continue to have it and have not been proven wrong, that German dog breeds, they are intense, right? So I had a Dachshund, now I have a Rottweiler. And I thought to myself, I was like, this dog cannot be like Hershey. Hershey was small. This dog is going to be huge. So I started training Queen. And everyone told me, you should be a dog trainer. You should train other dogs. I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with other people. I don't want to deal with other people's dogs. So one day we went outside to, play with the dogs. And unfortunately, Lady was attacked and killed by some off-leash dogs. I don't know if they were stray because they looked very well fed, but she was attacked and killed. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I am going to be a dog trainer. I'm going to fix this, because if those dogs' owners would have known, maybe we wouldn't have been in this situation. And if we were more well-versed in what to do with an off-leash dog, maybe we wouldn't have been in that situation. So from then on, I took charge, and I was just like, let's do it, man. Because I always believed that if I want to see change in the world, I should do it myself. So here we are. And what are we? See, Queen's almost 5. So 4.5, 5 years later, here we are.
Wow. I had no idea. I'm so sorry that happened.
Thank you.
That is incredibly traumatic. And what a way to respond to it. I love what you said about how if you want to see change, you've got to do something to help start that change. I think that's an incredibly impressive and important attitude to bring, especially to the dog training conversation, because so many people have dogs. Living with dogs is such a normal part of human society across the world, especially here in America. The number of pets just continues to grow from my current understanding. And so it really is vital that the people living with these animals understand at least a little bit, enough to make everyone successful and at the very baseline, just like keep everybody safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know that enrichment is a big part of your training. I love that you already talked about having some of these German breeds who can be really intense. What does that word mean to you? What does enrichment mean to you?
Yeah, so I always tell my clients when I go to their house, I'll say, let's say that it's the weekend and you didn't go to work, and you did all of these things. You think you're being productive because you went to the gym and you lifted your weights and you ran on the treadmill for a half hour, and you come home and what do? You sit on the couch and you play Candy Crush, or You watch Jeopardy because your mind is still going. Your body's tired, but your mind's still going. That is enrichment. What are we going to do to make sure that our minds are satisfied? And a lot of dogs are just, I mean, they're born athletes. They like to run. A lot of dogs aren't born lazy. But what are we going to do about this bad boy up here? Because the brain is the start of everything. So if the brain is satisfied, then that means that the body is probably satisfied. And that means that your dog can go day to day just satisfied and less likely to go seek enrichment by themselves. And I tell my clients, dogs don't make good decisions. That's why they don't run for president, because they're not good decision makers. We have to make those decisions. And if we leave it up to them, they're going to make terrible ones. So enrichment to me is making sure that we tap into what your dog enjoys doing and doing that strategically. That's the key. Because people, oh, my dog likes to tear things up. Well, let him tear up things strategically. Let him tear up something that you don't care about, like half a head of lettuce or something. Or let him, take the dog to the beach to let him dig because he loves digging in your cabbage patch, but let him go dig in a beach. So doing what the dogs love to do and that is going to satisfy their minds, because dogs love challenges.
I think that's a wonderful definition. And the emphasis on strategic is huge.
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you have anything that comes to the top of your mind when, sometimes I think that it's natural for people to be a little bit worried about different types of enrichment if they feel like they're struggling with a problem behavior. It can feel scary to encourage your dog to act on that behavior. And like there are questions about the context and like, how will I control this? Do you have any initial advice for that problem?
Yeah, so once the dog is satisfied, for example, I realize that my dog loves to bite things. Not that she bit me, but she likes to bite things. She likes to get a little rough, not too rough. But I call her my little linebacker, right? She's just this little professional NFL player. So I tap into that. So she's not allowed to bite me, right? Or bite other people, but we have a bite sleeve. She is absolutely allowed to get as rough as she wants with that. Once Queen is satisfied mentally, then she goes and lays down. She's done what she wanted to do. She was able to use her brain. And again, once the brain is just exhausted, like standardized testing in school, that used to tap me out. I'm done for the day. Just like that with your dog. I'm done. Math day. And it's pretty much like that for your dog. So a lot of people, for example, they say, oh, well, I don't want my dog to, bite my kids, but clearly they love to bite. Well, then let's give them something that they can bite outside. To your point about context, we don't even have to do it in the house. We can do it over there, outside, so that the context becomes clearer of when and where you can bite, or when and where you can tear, or when and where you can just take off running. Dogs understand that. I think that people give dogs way too much credit and then not enough credit all at the same time, right? But dogs are very smart. They understand the context.
I really love what you said about giving too much credit and not enough credit. I feel like that captures the nuance so well that like sometimes it's really easy to just sort of treat our dogs like they should be little people and like they should just automatically understand this. Like, my blue heeler should know that my family's cat is a friend and not a cat on the street that we face, right? And like sometimes it isn't always that simple, but then it's so easy to swing to that other side of the spectrum and just like sell them short and not give them chances to prove to us. And there are so many ways to help give them that clarity as well, like the context stuff. We have a specific word for Scout, like a verbal signal when she's allowed to just like be a dog and follow her impulses in a space. We say go ahead, and then at the end of that we say enough, and that like took training and it took time to get it through. But now it's pretty reliable. So it's like, yeah, okay, you can chase that squirrel when I say you can, and the squirrel has a tree to safely run up, right? But like when we're off leash on a different hike and it's a deer, like I can say, no, this is a different situation. Realizing that opens up so much for me as a dog owner, as someone trying to be both a responsible dog owner to other people in shared public spaces, but then also to my dog. Like it took me too long to realize that I could have both of these things. It wasn't a one or the other. my dog is running around. Hershey sounds like an absolute delight, but like the sort of like the Hershey versus the like the really strict, my dog never gets to do anything fun.
Right. Dogs should absolutely be able to be dogs. And I see a lot of very impressive videos of, these very intense trainers, and they're like, your dog shouldn't do this, your dog shouldn't do that, your dog shouldn't do that. Blah, blah." And I'm like, yes, right now they should not because this dog is unhinged. This dog is a menace in society. But, you're putting this out on Instagram and you're telling everyone your dog shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that, they should always do this. And I'm like, do you always do this? Do you always do that? You don't. And while I do think that dogs are far more consistent than people just because of their less complex thoughts, they're still sentient being. And when I see these videos that say, that put dogs and their owners in a box like this, and again, it's very impressive to see this Dutch Shepherd just in a very tight heel, ignoring everything going on around them. But I also acknowledge that that's not my client base. That's not the people I'm talking to. I don't even want to talk to those people because that's your niche. You're doing great over there. I call myself a lifestyle dog trainer. Whatever my clients like to do, let's make sure that we can have your dog kind of work with that. I mean, you can't have a blue heeler and be a couch potato, right? Like, I can't make that work. But I can say, if you say, oh, I enjoy going to the beach, well, we can make sure that your heeler has good recall and can keep a heel, but it's not going to be militant. I'm not militant. I'm very lax, but at the same time, I'm very strict when I have to be, because sometimes you really do have to be strict with dogs. Sometimes more strict with certain breeds or certain just dogs as individuals than you are with other dogs. Some dogs are just easier to deal with, and they're just like, yeah, I'll do what you want me to do, go where you want me to go. Some dogs are like, I will run away right now if you don't give me some food. But that whole put them all in a box, the same box, and your dog should and shouldn't, I'm like, that's kind of tough. That's really tough to say. I don't like finite sentences like that because maybe. My answer for when people are like, well, will my dog? Oh, maybe. My favorite response, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. I really don't. It's up to them.
It depends. You are speaking to my soul here. I think that this is such an important concept, and especially, like when I came on the Juniper team and started writing some different articles and thinking about these topics, it was this question of, we're talking to a pet parent audience. And if there are some dog sports competitors listening, I'm so glad you're here. And I also understand that that's not the majority of our listener base, and that's completely okay. But I think that sometimes what happens in content designed for like the quote unquote everyday pet parent is that sometimes it becomes almost too simplistic because it's trying to be accessible. And that's a really great, important goal. But it will make those sweeping generalizations, and like how you said it, like put dogs and people in boxes. And that can end up doing more harm along the line because, maybe you're trying to fit yourself in a box that actually your lifestyle, your individual decisions doesn't match. So I think that's such a key concept. And the ways that enrichment help make this possible are just so layered, because when your dog feels fulfilled, they have a higher capacity to handle some of the challenges that you might ask them to face. And, you can both sort of like compromise and ultimately try to create a life that you both feel good sharing together.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point about like dog sports are strict in that moment. And then the dog goes back home and they go back to being a regular dog. Or like TV dogs too. They look so scary on TV, and then they go home and they're just like the biggest cream puffs ever, right? And I think it's definitely okay to have to be strict in a moment, because again, there's sometimes like I live just south of Atlanta, so when I take Queen to the city, she is gonna be right here, because girl, either there's cars or there's people or there's dogs, like there's always something. So yeah, you're gonna be right here with me. But when you get the chance to be free, go be great. Go be amazing. Call me back. But yeah, like there are definitely times when when dogs and people need to keep it tight. But it's not most of the time. It's really not, because most of the time, where are you? You're in your house. You're at the house, or your dog's at the house and you're at work. So it's very important to teach your dog these things, but not to keep them confined within those expectations. And I've had clients in New York City, and I've had clients in, I don't know, Butte, Montana. Their needs are not the same. New York City, they're like, oh, I want my dog to learn to be on an e-collar. Why? When is your dog going to be more than 20 feet away from you in New York City? Do you go to the parks? No. Okay. So what do you need e-collar for? Whereas, the person in the middle of Montana on a farm, I want my dog to be on a prong collar. Why? You have 200 acres. Are you taking your dog for a walk in the street? If so, maybe, but you're not. So what do that's why I say I'm a lifestyle trainer, because we have to adapt. And if I were to put the same box around the New York client and the Montana client, somebody's going to be unhappy, or some dog.
The dogs that are going to suffer. And then also the people who love those dogs, because, I fundamentally believe that we bring dogs into our lives because we want to enjoy them and have them enjoy us and have it be this mutual relationship. But sometimes it's really easy to get caught up, especially in these days of social media and feeling like you have to prove things. And it is such a balance of the respect. I love what you said about visiting or living in a city, right? There are times where we really need to be under control and tight and precise. And then there are all of those other times where that's just not a necessity. I like to say that I have this theory, and I am not a professional dog trainer, just a voracious dog nerd. But I have this theory that one of the reasons Scout will listen and cooperate with me so well when I need her to is because I don't ask her to just for shiggles all the time. If I ask her to do something, she needs to do it, and we've worked on that. But I don't just go around saying hey, hold this tight heel in the wide open park just so that I can prove that you have a good heel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And Madison, she's at Free by Training. She said something on her story, I think, or maybe she made a post that changed my DNA. He said something along the lines of, basically, maybe your dog will come back to you if you aren't always nagging them. And not that I feel like a nag to Queen, but I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. So Queen and I always walk. We have a lake in the neighborhood. So we always walk to the lake because she could be off leash there. So I was like, let's just let her sniff. I mean, there's always deer and God knows what, tracking through overnight. So she's always got new smells. So I let her smell, let her smell. And I recalled her. She came back. I was like, great. Let her go. She got pretty far, really deep into a smell. And I was like, okay. Because if she doesn't come back, I'm going to cry because I feel like a terrible trainer. So I call her and she comes back. And I was like, wow. So ever since then, I've just let Queen sniff just a little bit more and do a little bit more of what she wanted to do before calling her back and asking her to do something. And that has really changed the game for us. Just that one tiny little tweak changed so much for us.
Have you joined Juniper yet? Our free guides, articles, and newsletters are packed with tips to keep your pets happy, healthy, and enriched. Sign up today at juniperpet.co.
I always try to hedge the possibility of one concept or one simple fix being dramatic, because that is something that we see so much on social media, like we were previously talking about. This is one of those concepts where I really feel strongly, though, that those are the ripple effects that it can have, because it leaves room for that nuance and the understanding of individual lifestyles. But just this idea that you can balance the control and the training and the freedom and the trust, and all of these things can exist together. I was so rigid earlier in my life with Scout. I was just driven by ego a little bit, to be honest, which I hate admitting, but is true. So I have to admit it. And just wanted to find the protocol, like the capital P protocol that I would follow. And then my dog was perfect. And everyone on the street would see me with my perfect dog. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, look at those two. They're amazing. And it really felt like an epiphany when I realized that like I could be in charge of what I wanted in my own life, and that underlying foundation of the respect and finding ways for her to let loose and be a dog that are safe in our modern human world. Like, we live in a human-centric society and we need to recognize that and respect that. But yeah, like, why was I asking her to tightly heel on every single time we left our apartment? Like, why?
I feel like people it's a culture, and Caesar, if you ever listen to this, much love. But I feel like a lot of it started with Caesar and everyone watching The Dog Whisperer. That was a fantastic name. I mean, beautiful. And I feel like Caesar kind of like started getting big after, I don't know if you remember, like, Barnum and Bailey circuses and how these tigers were all under control, and then one of them like ate their handler, and it was crazy, right? So now Caesar's coming out, and not that he's got tigers, but he's got these huge dogs, and he's just able to like snake charm them into being the dog that these people wanted him to be. And people, they thought like, I have to be alpha, I have to do this, I have to do that in order to immediately be alpha in order to control my dog. And I see it happen with my dog. They'll throw on the really deep voice, get loud, Queen. And she's like, why are you yelling? She doesn't get yelled at. What are you yelling at my dog for? Just because she's a big bad Rottweiler? She doesn't listen to any of that because it just doesn't register with her. You can scare her. You might be able to scare her into submission, or you might be able to scare her clear in the other direction. So I feel like a lot of it's driven by what we've seen and what we expect a dog to be, because we're like, dogs need to listen to humans, whereas humans need to earn a dog's respect. That's really where a dog's trust and respect, they don't come like that. I've seen a lot of owners of dogs where the dog likes the owner but doesn't trust them. Don't trust you because every time I come near you, you hit me or you pick me up and I don't want to be picked up, or you put me in my crate. I don't want to be in my crate. So I feel like that came from, or that comes from, because I still see it with a lot of owners watching TV and they being like, I need to immediately control my dog. And it's like, have you thought about making your dog like you first? Just a thought.
Yep. Yes. I feel like sometimes the discourse around anthropomorphism has made people so afraid to have a social relationship with their dogs. There is so much nuance here. Like, of course, dogs are not humans. I mean, there's a reason that we are on a dog podcast talking about dog-specific enrichment and activities that humans, generally speaking, don't find fulfilling. Like, we are very different, make no mistake. We are also species who co-evolved together and have a genuine social bond. I think that anyone who's truly loved a dog can understand what we mean when we say, like, it is a social experience. And, it is not problematically anthropomorphistic to say, I want my dog to feel these positive emotions around me. Like, I want us to trust each other. It's not the same as a human relationship. You can follow the train of thought too far and create problems for sure. But like, it's okay to connect with your dog, species to species.
Yeah, Denise Fenzi said, she's like, dogs actually like us. Like, they're born because, to your point, we've co-evolved. So in their DNA, somewhere, it's like, oh, I like humans. Now you got those street dogs that are born in the street and learn, not fear of humans, but like, nah, I'd rather you not, because humans can be a lot sometimes. But they're really born liking us. And from there, we just need to use that as a springboard to build up a relationship. And I tell my clients, I'm like, you need to fall in love with watching your dog have fun. Like, that is where you start winning. Fall in love. The way that Queen, oh my God, a couple of months ago, she rolled in something. And I was like, it was freezing outside. I'm like, but then I remember when she was having a blast. Not that she's about to have a blast around my house because she's got something on her body and she's going to get a bath. But in that moment, she was having so much fun. And if people would just fall in love with watching just like their kid. You take your kid to their piano recital, even though you got them in the piano because you wanted them to be in piano. But you go to your kid's piano recital and you see them having fun and you just swell with joy. Do that for your dog. Queen loves water when it's not moving, i.e., no showers, no water hoses, and no high tides on the beach, but she likes swimming pools. So I'm like, well, let's get her into like dock diving or something. So I can watch my dog have fun doing something she has fun with. And I really need people to fall in love with enjoying watching their dog enjoy what they love to do. Your dog's not just there to serve you and your loneliness or whatever the reason is you got your dog. You got to give back to them too.
We got to chat with Jennifer Holland back in the fall. She's the author of Dog Smart, which is a new National Geographic book. She was a National Geographic journalist for a while before that. And I asked her, like all of these things that you've learned about canine intelligence and their relationships with humans, like what is something that you're changing in life with your dogs? And her answer, paraphrasing, of course, was something along those lines of like, when my dog is like wanting to sniff or roll in something, like I try to give them more freedom to enjoy that. And that really stuck with me because she had done all of this immersive research, this really thorough interview process, learning all of these things. And like one of her takeaways was so simple and applicable to so many of us with pets. Like, is the situation safe? Can I allow them to have this moment where they're just feeling really joyful? And if the answer is yes, then yeah.
I'm not letting my dog play in traffic. She's just going off and sniffing stuff in the trees. I mean, why not? Obviously, if your dog is prone to running off, like maybe put him on a leash. But after that, why not? I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen? They enjoy it. They think that dogs get a taste of something and they just chase it. And it's like, that's rarely the case. Again, dogs understanding context, that's rarely the case. And I've heard like, oh, it's like let's say somebody's dog bit them for something that they did wrong. I've seen people say, do I need to put my dog down now that they've got a taste for blood? Wait,
Oh,
wait. I'm sorry. You think your dog is going to bite you again? Are they a vampire? No, they're dog. You got bit. I mean, like, band-aid on it, shake it off, wash it off, whatever. Obviously, it's a traumatic experience to have been bitten by a dog or by your dog, especially. But they think that dogs get something and then just relentlessly chase it. And I'm like, that's not what a dog does. And we still, in 2025, have so far to go with the general public understanding dogs. They don't have to be a dog nerd. They don't have to be a dog trainer. They just need to know better. And they don't. And I blame Hollywood. I blame Hollywood. I blame TV. I blame movies. Not to say that these movies and shows aren't entertaining, but I wish we could take that and go, that was very entertaining, and then get back to real life. But we seem to can't do that.
Yeah, there are truly so many myths. And I think that I see this even just in myself as an individual human. Like, I think that there's this idea that you need to continually practice self-control so that you have the skill. And there's some merit to that, right? Like we do, like self-control, like this is a skill. We can strengthen certain neural pathways, like we can become more resilient. That's all really great, right? But that also does not invalidate the reality that when we are deprived of something, we tend to want it more. And so like when I let myself do the activity or like eat the thing that I really want to have, and it's like not a big deal, it's just part of normal life, I'm actually able to resist that thing when I decide that I really do need to resist it because I previously satisfied the urge. And I think that I see that in Scout as well. Like she is better able to keep her head on straight around prey. She's a really high prey drive. If she has recently gotten to act on those instincts, like if she has gotten to chase a squirrel up a tree or like flirt pull time or something like that, she has a higher capacity to resist in a different situation where that behavior isn't okay. And like this was a huge light bulb for me where I was like, oh, I think I had sort of believed the narrative, what you were saying, like that if she did it once, she'd like catch this addiction for it. And then I thought about myself and how I move through the world. And like, it's very rare that that is actually how an experience with an activity works.
Yeah. And, don't get me wrong. When, let's say, a dog does chase and catch prey, it is very satisfying for them. It is very satisfying. And they might see, in like a high prey drive dog, they might see some prey and go do it again. But in the context of Scout, She's got an owner who knows how to talk to her. So it's like, Scout, we did that last week. Whereas if Scout was with someone else, or if someone else had a blue heeler and they just didn't have him under control, absolutely. The dog is going to run off and chase that squirrel because no one's telling them not to, right? There has to be, we're guiding our dogs through this world, just like we guide children through this world. We're guiding dogs. And so, yes, any other off the rocker dog would chase any old day because they never learned the self control. But if we have it, sure, why not? A lot of people are like, oh, you let your dog chase squirrels and that's mean. I'm like, to who? The prey or the predator? I mean, your dog didn't kill the squirrel. You're not hunting squirrels. I mean, and if you are, so be it. But you're not hunting squirrels, and the squirrel's safe, and Scout's safe, and everybody is happy. And to your point about anthropomorphism, we really do need to acknowledge dogs as dogs more. And I always make the joke like, oh, Queen's got her mother's eyes, like always. That's my child, my biological child. I was there when she was born. But at the same time, like my mentor says, Sailor Jerry, the dog trainer, she's like, you have an apex predator in your house. And I need everybody to start realizing that, like, whether it's a Shih Tzu or a Great Dane, these are dogs, And if people could just take that for what it was worth, I think that they would be less surprised about their dog's behavior sometimes. If your dog wants to chase a squirrel, it's a dog. I mean, why not? My dog and my cat play all the time, right? And Queen's very gentle. And well, with the cat. She's very gentle with the cat. And I feel like they each get it out of each other because Ori, the cat, she gets to stalk. Queen gets to stalk and they get to play, but nobody's killing each other. This is a very structured and strategic way for each of them to get their fulfillment out. And then after 15 minutes, everyone's tired. And I'm happy.
Yeah, you can look for those win-win moments. So what's your best advice for someone who's listening and, they want to find out what really fulfills their individual dog? We've talked a lot about dogs being different. What would you tell them? Like, how do they figure out what makes their dog's heart sing?
Yeah. So if you have a purebred dog, Google it. I mean, and that's just the simplest way to do it. And like for Rottweilers, it's a plethora of things. I mean, some Rottweilers were bred to herd. Some Rottweilers were bred to protect or alert. So, you might not get exactly what Google says, right? But German Shepherds, herding, or Greyhounds or Sighthounds chasing, all these things. So you can Google that and then try some things. To my mutt owners like myself, because Queen is 12.5% Portuguese water dog. So to my mutt owners, I'm talking to you guys, my rescues and my mutt lovers, you just got to start trying stuff. And what I like to do is kind of like test the mouth, like how passionate are they about using that thing? If they're pretty low drive about using their mouth, well then tug and all that, maybe not. Chase, how passionate are they about chasing movement? Get the ball, throw that thing, and let's get busy, right? Or, a flirt pole, or I had a client who had a fake rabbit and rabbit musk for her basset hound.
Oh my gosh, that's next level.
Fantastic, right? Let's say you've got a dog with some hound in him. You see the nose. His nose is always glued to the ground. Sniff work. Put some kibble or some treats in a sniffle mat, or roll it up in a towel and let the dog get to work. Let's say you have a dog that just likes to rip and run. Take that dog out somewhere vast and let it go. Just let it chase the birds. The birds aren't going to die, right? They're quicker than your dog. The squirrels, let them chase them up a tree. What does their mouth like to do? What do their eyes like to do? What do their legs like to do? And start just experimenting. And if you need assistance, Google, how to enrich my dog. Some dogs are more prone to enjoying certain things than others. I've got a Doberman client that loves biting more than Queen, and she's way more passionate about the bite sleeve than Queen is. Cool, that's fine. That doesn't mean Queen loves it any less, but there's more passion in this dog over here. Queen loves smelling things. So I would say that her heart and soul is in smelling. So I take her for a walk and I let her sniff. When it's raining outside, we have these little plastic shot glass looking things. We hide them around the house with kibble under them. Only one of them has kibble under it. She goes and she figures out, oh, not that one, nope, not that one, that one, you know? So get creative, use Google as your best friend, and message your local dog trainer and see what they have to say. Give you some tips.
Yeah, also an invaluable resource when you can have somebody, especially to see your dog in person, who has this wide range of experience and can help you identify things that you're seeing in your own dog. We've covered so much ground today. I've had a blast talking to you. If you could tell every dog owner one thing, what would that one thing be?
Understand that eye contact is one of the most important things you're going to get out of your dog because that's where the relationship starts to build. If you can get eye contact from your dog, you've got their attention. So work on building the relationship with your dog, hand feeding your dog, and eye contact. I would give a second piece of advice, if I may.
I'll allow it, yeah.
Thanks. If you have a young dog, understand, this dog is going to get older, obviously, and kind of train all of their senses. And I'll give an example. I have a physical cue for Queen to sit. If ever Queen gets, cataracts or loses her hearing, I've got her sense of touch. So if you're into training your dog and getting creative with training, try to train towards all phases of life. Those are my two pieces of
That is incredibly smart and a piece of advice that I have so rarely heard given. Like, you might be the first person to sum that up that directly. Like, Scout is maybe 9-ish. We don't know for sure. And the changes that I've seen in the 6 years that I've gotten to live with her are just like extreme. And I wish that I had prepared earlier. Like, the activities that she enjoys are shifting a little bit, and like the way that I emotionally respond to these shifts. Like, this is something that I could have thought about more critically earlier in our time together. So I love hearing you say that. I think that is such a great point.
Thank you.
Well, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Where can listeners find more about you?
Yeah, so if you go on Instagram or TikTok at the dreaded trainer, that'll be me. Also, I am on Tulsa Pat's website as a one-on-one trainer if anyone ever wants to do some virtual training with me. At any given time, I do offer free phone consultations for in-person or virtual training, so we can chat about that. And I'm always open to answering any generalized questions about your dog or dog training. Nothing too specific because that just requires way too much back and forth, but definitely into generalized stuff. And you can also find me on Facebook at The Dreaded Trainer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zoe. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to the Juniper podcast. Don't forget to sign up at juniperpet.co for guides, articles, and newsletters that make pet parenting easier. And if you're a pet brand looking for creative content that connects, drop us a line at juniperpet.co. We'll see you next time.